Okay. Now, the card on the bottom of the deck is the Knight of Stones, Wolf. And Knight of Stones has to do with earthly pursuits. Being earth sign, this is Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. Possibly yourself. Just as an overview, I'm thinking there may be issues with your pack, meaning your family. The family that you live with on a day-to-day, possibly for some of you extended family. But Knight of Stones is about going forth in the world, seeking your fortune, seeking your adventure. It can deal with younger, brash kind of energy. Although stones tends to be a slow-moving energy. It's the sign of Earth in this deck. Although it tends to be a slow-moving energy, we do know that a wolf can certainly spring into action. So with this card, we are sort of looking at those types of pack issues and so on. And for some reason, this here with the light coming through that is making me think of home theater movies. So there may be a time of reflection for some of you, especially as you're going through some of the things here. There does seem to be some stress based in these cards, but there's also a lot of really good stuff too. So let's kind of take those apart and see what we got. Take them one at a time. This card here is the Green Woman card. Green Woman is akin to the Empress. She is the quintessential goddess, right? She's the fertility goddess. She is in her power right now, being the 1st of September, right? This is where we see the abundance. This is where we see the feminine that gives birth to the fruits, the vegetables, the gourds, the harvest that we see now. She's the female element of that. Green Man would be her god counterpart. Green Woman, akin to the Empress, has to do with that kind of Virgo energy, definitely Earth energy. This is you in the peak of your prime, potentially, right? Take it as it resonates. But this could be that Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn person, or yourself. This is the energy you're operating in right now. I think for a lot of you, you're marching to the rhythm of your own drum here. We have the rebirth represented by the Shu and the Gig. We have the fiery passion of the dragon presented. We also have the trees, right? This is some kind of evergreen tree. And we, of course, see the blossoms, the bounty that she brings to bear here. For those of you who may be in that life phase, she can indicate pregnancy and things like that. So for some of you, you may want to double up on the birth control if that's not in your plans at this point. For others of you, this could simply be, you are rocking it at work. You're bringing home the bacon. You're doing very well for yourself in a financial, material standpoint. You have a stable home, stable family life, a job or career or pursuit. You could be the stay-at-home mom that gets stuff done, takes the kids where they need to be. But this is you in your glory, really, especially females and people in that feminine type energy, although it doesn't have to specifically be a female person. So you can be a male as well and still be kind of rocking it in that similar sense. You're bringing home a lot of, basically your ideas are fruitful. They're productive for you. Now, this is crossed by the responsibility card. So you are feeling your responsibility even as you are thriving within your workplace. There is a lot of stuff on your plate, but this does indicate, this Green Woman, that there's a great deal of mastery for you, that in spite of your responsibility, which may be breaking your back a little bit, you are still bringing home a lot of really positive, energy, a lot of fruits and things. Be very careful, though, with the responsibility card here that you are taking time out for self-care. Sometimes we do need to ask somebody to help us out. Maybe they need to watch the kids so we can go out and have a spa day or get a massage and work the kinks out. But be very, very careful that you're taking care of your home and hearth, yourself as well. We tend to be better parents, better people, better co-workers, better at dealing with rough situations when we take even a little bit for ourselves. I know for a lot of people that can seem counterintuitive, but if I take time out for self-care, then I'm not going to have that much time for these other people. No, actually, your encounters are going to be better. You may not be snapping as much at people if you take time for yourself. If you have that hot bubble bath once in a while, and have your partner watch the kids and keep them from banging on the door, or, if you have a family support system or a social support system of some kind, going out with the gals, going out with the guys, doing what you need to do to rejuvenate your battery. Because then we have more loving, calm, peaceful energy to bring to our family when we don't feel like we're overburdened with too much darn responsibility, right? We know we have to get the work done, and you guys have been rocking at that. But at the same time, just be very careful that you're not overtaxing yourself and breaking your back. Now, what's crowning you, what may be on your mind, is some level of frustration, right? 5 of arrows. You'll notice that this person here with the bow and arrow is missing the mark, right? This is because of too much burden can knock you off your path. When you're tired, when you're exhausted, you don't tend to be able to put your best effort in. So for whatever reason, look, this leg is up, and that almost makes me feel like this person's trying to bring everything to bring this bow into balance. Well, maybe if they weren't so tired, they could support the bow without getting all akimbo over here. I don't know. But this could indicate, too, this being a ram, it could indicate frustration in your life with an Aries person. Then again, possibly not. Some of you may be setting your sights on an Aries. You're hoping to get involved with an Aries. Then again, this has to do with missing your mark, not being able to accomplish what it is that you set out for, feeling like you're putting good energy into bad. And so this may be, for some of you, worry. Right? This may simply be worry, because again, you do have this card here, which indicates good success with things, but you're also overburdening yourself, and that may be leading to mental frustrations and mental anguish. We have to be careful, because how we direct our thoughts tends to be the outcome that we will get. So, we drive towards what we're looking at, essentially. You've noticed this in your car. When you look off too long to the shoulder of the road, you start swerving towards what you're looking at, or you overcorrect and you start weaving the opposite direction in your lane. You have to keep your eyes forward and then just do very quick glances, if need be, over on this side. But be careful, because again, you will drive towards what you're looking at. So if you're not doing the self-care, your life will become increasingly frustrating as you lose focus on the things you're grateful for and the things that are going well, and you begin to focus more and more on what's negative. Beneath you, we have the 10 of Cups, the happiness. So this may be that there's some kind of an energy that you're moving, that you're in, that you have at this present, and you're concerned that you're going to lose it, or fall out of that balance that you have been in. This is the 10 of Cups. This is the happy relationship, happy family. For a lot of you, it seems that you've put forward a lot of effort to make things work out for you, right? This Knight of Stones, I want to call it back. This is about family. Wolves are family pack, right? They have to do with your family life, and they're very family-oriented animals. This, to me, indicates that you have that happy family life going on. Not that there's not frustration or responsibility and so on, but this has been a really good time for you, in spite of any challenges you may be facing. There's always going to be that day-to-day grind that we have to deal with that may check some of our happiness if we're not comfortable in that. But again, how you talk to yourself through your day-to-day grind might help you reconnect with some of this happiness energy that you already have going for you. And now in your recent past, we see this foundation, this Ace of Stones. Stones is the earth sign, right? So that has to do with you establishing your happy home life. For some of you, you may have moved. You may have started a new business or moved on to a new job. This could be anything like that for you. And in that context, while you have all these new beginnings, you're also experiencing a great deal of joy and a great deal of fruitfulness, fertility, abundance, fecundity, right, in all of this. So this has been a really, really great cycle for you. I think that whatever your summer's been like, I think that for many of you, you're in a great place now, today, with that. That having been said, though, that's not without its concerns or or worries for you, though, to some degree. Now, moving forward, we have this Three of Arrows card. This is jealousy, third-party situation. So some of you may be kind of going through all of that, right? You may be going through the third-party situation, right? Now, when I think about this Five of Arrows cards, which is mental stuff, it could be that you're correctly perceiving that somebody's messing around or not quite as faithful as you would like them to be, or they may be true to you and you're worrying yourself into a stew. So both of these, the Three and the Five of Arrows here, both these cards are intellectual energy, right? So be very careful that while you're directing your energy, make sure that you, sometimes there's a gut knowing, so I don't want to say you get the facts, but be very, very careful that you're not living out a past scenario in your current situation, right? Sometimes we do that. We bring our past hurt into our present day situation. It's like we almost can't believe that the person we're with is not going to be cheating and hurting us in some way. And so we tend to project that onto someone when they do have to work late that day, or when they can't show up that weekend because they've got some other obligation, or whatever that might be. So be very, very mindful that you're not creating more stress than need to be, right? That there's not more stress that's going on than absolutely needs to be. But you'll kind of need to get a little bit more, maybe a little bit more information to go on with that. I'm going to stop talking on that for just a moment now. Let me put these cards back. Okay. Now, the card representing you is the Four of Stones. And this is the Four of Earth. This has to do with protection, seeking shelter from too much heat, right? The blazing sun, I want to say. This is where we kind of go into that protective mode, and we're not really seeing the stars. We're not really being guided by our stars at that point. We have to be in this protective mode. One of the things that can happen while we're in this protective state, though, is to be very, very careful to meditate. And if we can check our emotions and slow our thoughts enough to really kind of go within and just give us that time, that peace, right? Even as earlier I talked about self-care, make meditation, relaxation, one of those things where you can silence your thoughts and kind of check your emotions, put them out in a drawer somewhere for a time, so that you can kind of go to your center and just be in the now moment, right? Do some mindfulness, meditation or exercises. That might be very helpful for you. Stones, again, being kind of an earth sign, you do have this protective structure that you've created, right? You do have that. So it's not that it's a complete bad situation or anything like that. But for some of you, I think that there really is a great concern that as much fun as you're having, as busy as you are taking care of your responsibilities, as good as you've been feeling in your current situation, I think you think it may be one-sided, and that you're in a relationship with somebody who may not be true to you, that it may be, in fact, a third-party situation, or that there's something else going on. For some of you, it could be you're trying a new start with somebody else, and that perhaps you still kind of have a attachment to somebody from your past, right? Now, this card here, although I don't generally read reversals in this particular deck, this one did start to come out in reverse, which can indicate the third-party situation, right? In an upright sense, the Three of Cups it's happiness, it's celebration, it's community, it's date night, it's going out with the friends, it's just kind of having people that support you. Then again, it can be jealousy around the water cooler if it's in a negative or reverse type position. So what you may be protecting yourself from may very well be this third party situation that you're fearing. That you're fearing that it's happening. For some of you, it may actually be happening. So I don't want to hammer that point too much. And this is a general reading, so this isn't the case for every person. For some of you, it could be that you live in your fear with this joy. you fear letting go in that relationship. You do have a foundation of happiness. So, and the 10 of Cups is the happy family life. That's not the card that indicates cheating and, infidelities and all the rest of it. So for some of you, it may be that you're head tripping in that way because you don't really trust your own joy. I think a lot of you have been hurt in the past, and that's where this piece is coming from. But this Ace of Stones here in your immediate past is about solid foundation. And then here we see you as this splendid person, right? With this ability to bear fruit and joy and happiness and so on. So, take it as it resonates, right? Take it as it resonates. But I do think that some of you, you may be picking up on some signs that things are negative. If you're not really picking up on signs, if you keep thinking about, well, but so-and-so cheated, then probably you're not picking up on current signs. You're living in your fear because of past stuff. Then again, if you're actually getting weird stuff, the mystery phone calls and, when they get really guarded about their cell phone and when they start getting sneaky and they hang up the phone every time you enter the room, then probably you've got some signs that maybe something's going wrong. But just be careful not to superimpose if you have been hurt and you're concerned. Careful not to read too much into something. Like, wait until you know anything before. But now, this kind of plays into our next card. This is the Hopes and Fears card. Now, the ancestor is that individual who they can be very much like a shaman. They can teach us the lessons from the past. They can be the one who teaches us the old ways. They teach us how to meditate and how to pray. This is kind of like the Hierophant in other decks and so on. Written as the ancestor, I do think for some of you, you are fearing that the person you're with may be like that person who cheated on you in the past, the predecessor to that. Then again, maybe some of you are afraid that if you're living in your frustration, you might be like that parent that you had issues with growing up. And that you learned from, but that had some painful lessons along the way. Maybe you're fearing that you're getting caught into that pattern. How as parents, we tend to say things to our kids that our parents said to us, and we never thought we would repeat it, but we kind of tend to say things like that sometimes. So others of you may be uncomfortable with getting into that kind of meditative state or knowing more information about things. You don't want to know if something's going to be negative. You're trying to steel yourself against something bad happening. You've seen this before. You don't want this to happen again, but it may be causing some of you who are living in your fear and not in a reality of an actual cheat, may be causing you to miss out on some of the happiness and some of the joy that you could be experiencing in your relationship. So see if there's a way for you to move beyond your hurts. And for some of you, that may include talking to someone, a professional, a therapist to help you heal from past loss or grief. It may be talking to your best friend that can sympathize. Maybe even talking to a parent or a sibling or somebody like that understands your past and your journey. So some of that may be very helpful for you. And for some of you, it may be about going to your roots generally, and falling back on that and seeing if there's some area of your life where you can do some kind of a meditation, whatever your orientation, or your spiritual or religious beliefs, reconnecting with the roots of your origin and seeing, people that are Christians, for example, there's Christian meditations. For people that may be Irish, there's, Celtic, this is kind of a pre-Celtic shamanism deck. There's things like this to do if you identify with Celtic stuff. If you deal with African things, there are beautiful decks with African art. There may be traditions and customs and things that you can go back to in that way to reconnect with your roots and find your security and your stability and really celebrate yourself as this green woman or green person, this fertile, beautiful human being, and really, really honor that foundation. And understand that you are a spirit in a physical body at this period of time, and that whatever other people are putting you through, it's all for you in your journey as you're learning what's important, what's not important, how to let go of hurt, how to live in love, in spite of the fact that other people around you are not going to do the same thing. Then again, for many of you, there's a lot of love here and very definitely happy family life going on. Now, Wheel of Fortune kind of speaks to similar to what we were just discussing here. The Wheel of Fortune has to do with as you are making decisions in your life, as you're living your life, sometimes it seems like we're just going from one moment to the next, trying to get everything done that we need to do. Go to the store and get the craft makings for the kids for their project for school, or maybe it's about all the little daily things, doing the dishes and paying the bill and going to work and setting the alarm clock and doing the laundry and all those kinds of things. But there's also spiritual work that's going on in that when we learn to let go of things from our past, when we heal from the past, from our mistakes, from others' mistakes. When we let go, every day when we awaken and we say, this is what I want to do today. This is who I want to be today, right? And the more we practice those patterns become habits, and those habits, they become our character, right? And that's something that we're working on. But sometimes it's not until we look back and we see all the choices that we've made throughout our lives to this point, and that we continue to make every single day, that we really see the pattern that's coming onto the cloak of our life. This is a great metaphor for that. It also indicates that there is spiritual help as well. These three sisters, I think they're crones, or they represent maiden, mother, and crone, but they are weaving this fabric of our lives together, and they're putting beautiful elements. They're bringing beautiful elements into our lives. What we do with those options is up to us. It's the same idea with this 5 of Arrows frustration card. Right? We can choose to live in our frustration, or we can say, I can't control that. I didn't cause it. I can't control it, and I can't cure it. And therefore I need to just let it go. I need to let it go and do my best. And sometimes that does mean difficult decisions and setting boundaries with people that are uncomfortable. But this has to do with learning that journey. And if you've been involved in a karmic relationship, it may come a point where you receive some type of evidence or some knowledge that you need to move on from this, that you can't live in an insecurity. You can't live in your past tense with all the hurt that you've been through before. And you don't want to date the same person, different guy, same person, different gal, over and over and over again. You would rather find a soulmate, somebody who is at the same level that you are. For those of you who are in a happy relationship, it still may have to do with letting go of insecurities, worries, and doubts about this person, allowing yourself to live in your freedom and your joy, and your knowing that you are in fact protected, and that the beautiful parts of who you are can be celebrated and shared with another person safely, and that may be. But as I bring it back around here, I think of this Knight of Stones again. And for some people, it really is about trying to find your wolf pack. Who's the pack that promotes your best self forward? Like, we hear a lot about the alphas in a wolf pack. But there's also the other ones. Like when the alpha pair is hunting, for example, there are lower levels, I want to say betas, gammas, deltas, epsilons, whatever within that pack, that are watching the cubs, or is that what they call them? Wolf, whatever, the baby wolves, the pups. They're watching them, as the alpha pair are out and taking care of things. Every wolf has its role within that pack. We think of the lone wolf on the one hand, and that may be true for some, but for many it still is the lone wolf is out seeking their rightful pack, their place of belonging. So whether you're one of those who is seeking your place of rightful belonging, or whether you already have a pack that is a good fit for you, that is a personal experience.